was it 99 you get the call and you just think it's voice work when you get the call, is that right?
Yeah, my agent phoned up and said, Andy, they're making Lord of the Rings. It's down in New Zealand. It's going to be quite a big film, and they'd like to meet you to do a voice for one of the characters. And I was like, ugh. And I literally said, there must be a dozen decent roles in that movie. Can't you get me on, like a proper role?
Smeagol, what's he to do with that?
And then I realised it was Gollum. Then I realised it was Gollum, and I'd read The Hobbit, and I loved The Hobbit when I was a kid. I'd never read Lord of the Rings at that point, and it was Lorraine who said, "What are you talking about? Gollum's one of the best parts in it." And I was like, but it was curious because I thought I can't go about this when I had to audition for it, and I can't go about this by just thinking about a voice, because I've never done anything like that. And it's just like I just have to find the character. I just have to work on the character and build an idea, pictures psychologically, what drives him, what where he carries his pain, what it is, how does he get his voice, how does that voice, where does it emanate from? And it's the guilt of killing his cousin, and maybe it's trapped in his throat, and and then there was the whole kind of. And this is absolutely true. The whole moment of my cat coming in, Diz, who came in while I was working on the script. So I have my cat, who's no longer with us, to be thankful for, who started coughing up furballs in front of me. And
that was the moment.
And that was the moment, because I was looking for a physical connection between when Gollum's, speaking like that, and so the coughing up the furball thing. I mean, it was like became that's how it sort of that was literally the moment of connection, which transformed my life. Peter was like, look, there's this technology which is sort of coming into play called motion capture, and we're not quite sure if but basically I
you heard
you
of it at all by then?
I had no idea. But I want you to be on set to act with the other actors, because they, I'm not having them act against a tennis ball on a stick and someone reading lines off, because Gollum drives a lot of the scenes, and so it was just like, okay, so trust. So it was like, if you come and do this, then we'll figure out how we'll make it up as we go along, basically, and so and he said, look, and I said, well, is there no way that I can actually play him with prosthetics or anything? And he said, no, because he's so diminutive. There's the way that we're designing him. He's so kind of emaciated and thin, and there's no actor you could cast to play the role. But I mean, to actually, but this technology might work. So lo and behold, kind of, I find myself in New Zealand, and as you know, it was a trilogy. It was shot. All three films were shot over the course of a year and a half together, all out of sequence.
Only a year and a half.
Yeah, all out of sequence. And my first scene was up climbing Mount Doom. So my first day in New Zealand was up the top of a volcano. About
thought, at least
spring.
I'm climbing.
Yeah, exactly. After we'd shot on set, on location, and all of the sets, during the process of that year and a half, we went to this thing called the volume, this motion capture volume, which was a tiny, at that point, little, literally about 2 meters square area, where I put the magic suit on, the suit with the dots on, and I saw for the first time, when I lifted my arm up, I saw Gollum lift his arm up in front of me, and it was like looking into a screen. It was like looking into the looking glass.